Since the purpose of this video is making an accessible PDF, the best thing for us to do is going to be find a source file to work with. Probably the best source file to work with in this case is going to be one that you're going to be using quite a bit, probably from Microsoft Word. Let's search the internet for a Word document. In fact, why don't we take a look at the Section 508 website and see if they have one that we can use that we can just easily turn into a PDF. This one looks good. Memorandum for Chief Acquisition Officers. The little summary below it is improving the accessibility of government information procurement policy. Surely, since this is on the Section 508 website, this is probably going to be formatted to a point where it's accessible. Let's take a look at it. I've opened the Word document, and it seems like there's some really weird stuff going on. I have some overlapping text and some weird things going on with the footnotes, as well as some overall spacing issues. Bullets, paragraphs not lining up. Not exactly certain what's going on here. Let's try clicking inside the text and seeing what's going on. And it seems as though they've gone ahead and put all the text into text boxes. Let's take a look at what this looks like in a PDF. Inside of Acrobat, we see that everything looks exactly as it did right from Word. But what we care about is the tag structure, making sure there's a logical structure on the page. Already I see some issues. There's no headings and there's a lot of tags with empty content because the original author used hard returns to create white space on the page. Overall, this is just a really crappy PDF. So let's fix the Word document to give this a better structure. We'll just close this PDF and return to our document. When we make PDF files from Word documents, specific features that are built into Microsoft Word gets translated into Acrobat. These built-in features include using list buttons, style panels, and hyperlink panels to properly format the document. The more work we do to properly format the Word document, the easier it will be when we move into Acrobat to make it accessible. I believe the author of this document used text boxes in order to make it appear the same on every computer. Unfortunately, because these boxes simply float in the content space of Word, and everyone's setup for Word is different, the end result is only guaranteed to be all wonky. To correct that, we'll need to extract the text from these annoying text boxes by cutting and pasting the text within the regular content flow of Word. Before we get to that though, let's turn on some Word features that will help to ease the pain of this entire process. To start, let's go to File, Options to open the Word Options dialog box. On the menu over on the left side of the dialog box, choose Display, and under the heading, Always Show These Formatting Marks, choose the last option, Show All Formatting Marks. Next, go back to the menu and choose Advanced, and on the fifth heading, under Show Document Content, choose Show Text Boundaries, and then click OK or hit Enter. Returning to our document, we can see a whole bunch more boxes on the screen, which really shows us how screwed up the document is. From here, we simply want to go paragraph by paragraph, cutting and pasting the text and placing it in the beginning of the Word page outside of the text boxes. I'm going to do a few and then fast forward so you don't need to watch me struggle with this. Okay, I managed to get through the header of this memorandum and I'm about to move into the paragraph section. Because these are just text boxes, I'm going to simply move this sucker out of the way in order to get at that overlapping footnote. Once I can get to it, I'm going to cut it from the text box. I'll just scroll down to the other footnotes and place them in the text box together. And a whopping 20 minutes later, I've managed to extract all the text from the text boxes. I've got my hyperlinks snuggled together in an existing text frame, and the images that were anchored to the text boxes now float nilly-willy, interrupting the content flow. For all intents and purposes, though, it now looks like a relatively unformatted document. Earlier, I mentioned that PDF tags are generated from Word styles. If we screw around with the styles and save the document, it'll probably look weird on someone else's version of Word. This happens because each Word document uses something called a template. Each template stores the way the look and feel of the document is presented when users open up your Word document. Now, by default, the template that all new documents in Word uses is called normal. So if we overwrite the way the content looks here, it will only look for our version of Word using our normal template. To fix this, we'll need to create our own template and use that to make it work for anybody we give this to. So let's start to make a template by going to File, Save As. In the Save As window of Word 2013, click on Browse. And the Save As dialog box, activate the Save As drop-down and select Word Template. When you choose this, it should now open a folder for templates. This location will be important later, so take note of it. I've set up mine as Custom Office Templates and made the location a favorite for later use. From here, just press Enter. Next, let's resave the document as a plain old Word file because we can make changes to the template right from within Word. Go to File, Save As, then click on Browse again, change the Save As type drop down to Word file, and save it wherever you want. Now we have two separate files and we need them to play together. To do that, we'll go to File, Options. In the Word Options dialog box on the left side menu, choose Add-ins. Near the bottom of this menu, open the drop-down labeled Manage and choose Templates. Then select Go. In the Templates and Add-ins dialog box, under the Templates tab, under the heading Document Template, choose Attach. Find the template you saved earlier and click Open. Note that the name of the document template changes from normal to the folder location of your template. Now choose OK or press Enter. It doesn't appear like anything is different, but trust me, it worked. You can double check that it worked by clicking on File and checking out the document properties. The first window that's open under File is Info. To see that template magic you just did, select the link at the bottom, Show All Properties, which is located under the text Related Documents. Now all the properties collapse and you can verify the template is not normal, but instead the file name of the file you just attached. If you're in the business of making Word documents at work, and you want it to look the same for you as it does for everyone else, this is probably the best way to ensure that it actually works. Now that we have a fresh Word document using our own custom template, we can start to add structure to the document through the use of Word styles. On the Home ribbon, in the Group Styles, there is a tiny option box in the lower right-hand corner. Either click this icon or click Alt, Control, Shift, and S to open the Styles panel. I use the Styles panel a lot, so I docked it to the left side of my screen for easy access. When we click on text in the document, styles in the Style panel will highlight with a blue border showing which style has been applied to the text. At the moment, all the styles are called default, which is not really that helpful. Anything that doesn't have a built-in style in Word that Microsoft has translated to specific PDF tags will get exported to PDF as a paragraph tag. You should make a habit of assigning actual paragraphs tags with the normal style. By default, paragraph styles are based on that style. I want to give this document a proper structure, meaning that there is a focus on the relationship of the logical way the document is set up. Let's go ahead and focus on the main style we'll be working with in any document, the basic paragraph style. I'll select the whole paragraph here. I want this to be the style normal, so I'll click the drop-down arrow on the style pane when I hover over normal and choose Update Normal to match selection. I'll choose Modify next. The Modify Style dialog box appears. Personally, I don't like the way the space between the lines in the paragraphs that use serif fonts look when they're made in increments of 0.5, so I'm going to change the text size to 12 points. Before I make any other changes though, I'm going to make sure that I select the option New Documents based on this template, so any changes I make to the style will be used anytime I use this template. Next, I'll click on Format and choose Paragraph. The original authors were trying to generate space by using hard returns on the keyboard. Assistive technology will give focus to paragraphs, and if there isn't any content there, it'll take a while for users to read through the document. The proper way to add space between paragraphs is to apply spacing between them. It seems like the original authors intended to use a single line between paragraphs. Since I changed the size of my font to 12, and I absolutely suck at math, I can easily determine how much space between paragraphs to use. If the lines of my text in the paragraph are 12, I can just give myself 12 points of space and call it a day. But I think I'd rather have space between a regular paragraph and any other style I decide to use. So I'll make it 6 points below the paragraph and 6 points above the paragraph. This puts a bit of padding on the top and bottom of the paragraph no matter what style is used. And this way, two paragraphs together will have 12 points of space between them. I'm all set here for now, so I'll click OK. This returns us to the Modify Style dialog box, but I'm all set here too, so I'll just click OK. And boom! Now I've got the style normal attached to that paragraph, looking all sexy there with the proper space styled on it. Now I've got to take care of the other paragraphs in the document. I can easily apply the same formatting above if I just click on the style normal in the style pane. And would you look at that? My evil plan to add a full line of space between the two paragraphs is working like a charm. Let's add one more here to see what it looks like between this other unformatted text. While we're here, let's tackle this list. Lists have their own special formatting requirements, and creating manual lists in PDFs can be a real pain in the ass. So I want to make sure that I don't have that much to do later. My styles panel is only currently showing me the styles I have in use at the moment, but I want to make sure that Word recognizes this is an actual list using one of their own list styles. To do this, I'll click on the Options link in the lower right corner of the pane to open the Style Pane Options dialog box. Under the Select Styles to Show, expand the drop-down menu and select All Styles. Then click OK or press Enter. Now the Styles pane is popular with every style known to man. Scroll down and find the style List Bullet, and then choose Modify like we did before. Again, in the Modify Style dialog box, check New Documents based on this template. Then click Format, but this time choose Numbering. In the Numbering and Bullets dialog box, select the second tab, Bullets, and choose a bullet style that you want to use. Then click OK to return to the Modify Style dialog box. Now, I could make all kinds of formatting decisions here for the bullet in the paragraph section, like how much space is between the bullet and the text and where the indents are and stuff, but it can seem really arbitrary unless I can see it. So I'll handle formatting a wee bit differently to make it easier on me. For now, the most important thing I want to do is make sure that I select the checkmark Don't Add Space Between Paragraphs of the Same Style. This way, I won't have that crazy 12-point space between the lines of text. Now, just click OK and then click OK again to exit the modified dialog box. Now select the first item of the list and choose the style List Bullet from the Styles pane. Voila! Formatting applied. Since the bullet is seen as an actual character in the document, I'll just need to delete that. Let's add some indentations here in the bullet now by fudging around with the tab marks and the ruler until I get it to a place that makes me all happy inside. Now go back to the list bullet style, open the drop down again, and choose Update List Bullet to Match Selection. Now select all the bullets in the list and apply the list bullet style to the selection. Now that the formatting has been applied, let's get rid of these extra bullets. Okay, so far the bullets are finished, and I've got an awesome list style going on for bullets. Let's give this document some headings so people know what the hell the purpose of the document is. To me, the purpose of the document is that it's a memorandum for Chief Acquisition and Information Officers about buying accessible stuff. First thing I'll do is make this stuff one line. To do that, I'll simply backspace Chief Information Officers to the previous line and hit Shift and Enter to make a simple line break. Let's select a paragraph here and find Heading 1 on the Styles pane. I'll choose Update Heading 1 to Match Selection to copy this formatting. Notice when I make this heading a 1, it's listed in the navigation pane. I'm going to make the heading a little larger, but doing this is just for aesthetics. It won't change the semantics of the document one way or another to do this. I'll do this by choosing Modify in the Heading 1 dropdown and change the text size to 14. Again, I'll choose New Document Space in this template. Now, let's add some space after this like the original authors wanted it to be. I'll choose Format, then Paragraph, and give it a full line of space under the text, and a half line above the text. Now just hit Enter twice, exit out of these dialog boxes. While I'm here, I'm going to give the date the style of normal, and then use the tab on the ruler to move it over a bit like it was on the original document. Now let's mess around with this text concerning the president. The first text that appears in the document is who this document comes from. While this information is technically important, it doesn't really describe what the purpose of the document is. To do this, so I'm going to make a special style for this text that will leave it as a paragraph tag when we convert it to PDF. I'll select the text and click the icon on the lower left-hand side of the Styles panel, New Style. Because I'm making a style based on text that is already selected, the Style dialog box opens and presents me with the label Create New Style from Formatting. I'm going to name it From Who. Note that it says Style Based on Default. This is because the text was styled using the name default originally. I could change it to normal, but I don't really need to worry about it since I'm going to get rid of that style when I'm finished with everything. If I were building a template from scratch, I would leave this as based on normal, so my styles maintain a typographical hierarchy. I don't need to add any formatting because I'm making a new style based on the way it already looks. But I want to make sure I select the option New Document Space in this template. Now, I'll click OK or hit Enter and move on. Let's change the office this document comes from to, which is the next line. Again, choose New Style, but this time choose the drop-down for style based on From Who, which is the style we just made. I'll be incredibly creative and name this style From Who to. Now select the option New Document Space in this template and click OK or hit Enter. Now on to the third line, where the Office of Management and Budget is located. Again, choose New Style, this time based on From Who to. Give it a super cool name of From Who 3, choose the option New Document Based on this template, but this time we'll add space after the paragraph. Click Format and choose Paragraph. I believe 2 lines would work stupendously here, so using my super genius math calculation of 1 line equaling 12 points and multiplying that times 2, the answer is 24. Now, click OK twice and we're back to the document. I think the date doesn't need to be this far away, so I'll just edit the paragraph of only this text. I'll right-click and choose Paragraph from the context menu that appears and gets rid of the space before size. Doing this won't affect the overall template. Next, let's handle who the document is actually from. These names listed in the From section. I'll select all of them and apply the normal style to them. Unfortunately, now I've got crazy spacing going on. So, same thing as stated above, let's just change the paragraph style for the individual text by right-clicking and choosing Paragraph from the context menu. Now I've got to deal with the subject. The subject could be a heading because it describes the purpose of this document as it relates to the memorandum heading above. So let's go ahead and make this bad rocket a heading. First, I'll add some space before about 1.5 lines or 18 points, and maybe a full line after the subject. I think it would look cooler if this were bold to grab attention. Now, I'll simply find heading 2 on the style panel and select Update Heading 2 to match selection. Since this is the second heading, we can now see it nested under the first heading in the navigation pane. These subsections are obviously describing the text that follows, which would make them headings as well. Let's add some white space around these by right-clicking, choosing Paragraph, and giving them a full line before and a half line below. I think I would prefer the heading 2 to be a bit larger, so I'll make it 13 points. I'll make sure the style is updated in the Styles pane. Back to the other heading, I'll make it 12 points, and then I'll update it to heading 3 to match the selection. There's too many styles to worry about here, so I'm going to change the view options back to the styles in use. To do that, I'll click on the options. In the Style pane Options dialog box, under Select Styles to Show, simply choose In Use and click OK. I think there should be more space after the last bullet, so I'm going to modify the list bullet style. I'll choose Format and Paragraph and increase the spacing after to be 12 points. Now click OK twice to get out of these dialogues. Now I think there's too much space between the heading 3 and the paragraph style, so I'll just remove the extra space here. The normal style still has spacing before it, so it'll be enough space in my opinion. Now, I don't know about you, but I'm terribly lazy. I would prefer not to spend forever in a day going through each and every paragraph to manually set the correct styles in a document. It becomes particularly tedious in much larger documents. Fortunately, Word provides us with a way to make our lives much easier. We can apply keyboard shortcuts to the styles we use the most, so we simply need to move through each paragraph and use our keyboard shortcuts to apply the styles. To create a keyboard shortcut for the normal style, choose Modify. In the Modify Style dialog box, be sure to choose the option New Documents Based on this template and click Format. Then select Shortcut Key from the menu. The text cursor should be sitting in the field marked Press New Shortcut Key. Simply type the shortcut you want. Based on my preference, I'll click Ctrl-0. This gets recorded in the field. Next, choose the drop-down menu for Save Changes In and choose the template we're working in. This will make sure that the style is applied to the working template. Next, choose Assign, which moves it from the Press New Shortcut Key field into the Current Keys box. Now choose Close and then OK. I'll do the same thing for my lists and my headings. The rules for shortcuts I live by when I design is to apply all paragraph styles using a control and a number, and all character styles using Control, Shift, and a number. Since there are 6 headings I use in a document, I use Control 1 through 6, each number referencing a particular heading level. Paragraphs are always Control 0. Bulleted lists are always Control 7, and numbered lists are Control 9. This is helpful when I'm using a number pad since the 7, the 9, and the 0 are located at the corners of the number pad. I tend to use character style shortcuts more when I'm using InDesign, but for longer Word documents, I'll use them as well. Now that my shortcuts are good to go, I'll simply be able to navigate through the document and hit the shortcuts with the keyboard to format the styles quickly. Control 3 for heading 3, Control 0 for basic paragraph. I'll come back to this lettered ordered list in a second. Control 0 again, Control 3 again, Control 0, Control 0, Control 0. Okay, the basic formatting is finished, but I've got to address these ordered lists really quickly. Let's show all styles in the Styles Options dialog box. You'll note that there are a bunch of different list styles. It doesn't really matter what you choose here for our purposes, as long as Word recognizes that we're making a list style. We'll go ahead and use the list style for this one. Choose Modify to open the Modify dialog box. Choose New Documents based on this template and select Formatting, then Numbering. This time, in the Numbering tab, choose the 6th option, which has the lowercase alphabet letters with the closing parentheses. Then click OK or hit Enter twice. It doesn't look like the style was applied, so I'll just select the list style in the style pane directly. Give me a minute to clean up the style pane to show the styles in use at the moment. These letters in the list themselves are too small, so I'll double-click the ordered list numerators and change them to a larger size. I'll delete these typed letters in the ordered list before I continue here. Now that I look at the formatting of the list, I think the spacing between the bullets in the list are too tight. I will want to keep the spacing for the last bullet to be greater than the others, so I'll make a new style called List Bullet Last and apply it just to that last list item. In this style, I'll get rid of the spacing before, setting it to 0. Now I'll select the other list items and change the spacing here to no space above and half a line of text below each item. Finally, I'll uncheck Don't Add Space Between Paragraphs of the same style. From here, I'll simply click OK twice to get out of these dialog boxes. Okay, so I've gone ahead and reformatted the rest of the document with the appropriate paragraph styles we just made. Everything we've done so far would make a good case to leave this document the way it is as an accessible Word document. However, the original authors decided to create this memo with images that are relevant to the rest of the information on the page. Not only are there images in this document, but they are also laid out with the text wrapping around them. Now, Microsoft Word provides a bunch of handy methods to wrap text around an image. Unfortunately, none of these methods will work for us if we were to leave this as a Word document, since the only way to make images exposed to assistive technology in Word is to make them in line with the text. When we make an image in line with text, it gets treated like any other character in the document. The problem with making the image in line with the text is that the layout looks absurd. To be honest, if we didn't need the text to wrap around the images, I would recommend simply leaving this document as a Word document and calling it a day. But since there are images in this document, it makes more sense to continue to make an accessible PDF. Now, there's a couple tricks you could employ in order to make an inline image look okay in a Word document, like using columns to fake text wrapping. But forcing Word to do things that go beyond its ability as a program can be an exercise in futility. Since we're already intending to turn this document into an accessible PDF, how we position the images on the page is irrelevant. Therefore, we get to use whatever built-in style that Word offers in order to lay out the document. I've gone ahead and cut the presidential seal and put it at the beginning of the document. When I handle those signatures below, I'll show you how I did this. For now, let's fix the spacing between the image and the From Who text. First, select the presidential seal. Then, on the ribbon, choose Format. In the Arrange group, select Wrap Text. Choose the second to last option, More Layout Options. In the Layout dialog box that appears, under the heading Distance from Text, choose the field for Right and enter 0.25. Then click OK. Let's move this date out of the way to make it formatted like it was originally. On the ruler, choose the top tab mark and slide it over just beyond the first line of the heading Memorandum for Chief Acquisition Officers. Now go back to the seal and right-click it. Select Format Picture. In the Format dialog box that appears, click the last tab, Alt Text. If images provide meaning to the rest of the document, they need to have an alternate description so screen readers are able to provide that information to the user. When making alternate text, think about it as though you're describing what it is to your mother over the phone. Now, my mom is a busy woman, so I need to be as quick and concise about it as possible. Therefore, she really doesn't need to know whether or not it's a picture or a graphic or a photo or anything like that. So avoid the habit of using phrases like, it's a photo of, or there's a picture of. Instead, just say what the image is. In this case, I'm going to make it Seal of the Executive Office of the President of the United States. Now I'll just click OK. Let's fix those signatures really quickly. Scroll down and select the first signature that is interrupting the flow of the text. Now, simply hold Ctrl and X in order to cut the image. The text box the signature was sitting in is still there, so I'll simply select that and then delete it. Now scroll back to the beginning of the document and click next to the line Administrator for Federal Procurement Policy. Hold Ctrl and click V to place the image. Word will place it in line with the rest of the text by default. This messes up our beautiful formatting, so I'm going to go back to the Format ribbon and choose Wrap Text again. This time, I'm going to select the 6th option, Behind Text. Now I can move it nilly-willy wherever I want to put it. Note that when I drag it, a little anchor appears on the left side of the content. This is telling Word that the image is sitting in the nether, but it does have some context as to where it needs to go. Now right-click the image and choose Format Picture from the Context menu. Choose the last tab, Alt Text. I'm going to move this box to the side so I can make sure I spell this dude's name correctly. In the text field, type Daniel I. Gordon Signature. Now click OK. Why did I put the word signature when I told you not to add text about an image or a graphic? Because I want users to know that this is not a picture of David smiling for the camera. It's relevant to me that this document is signed by him, so I'm assuming it's relevant for others that his signature is on the document. Same thing again. We'll scroll down, select the second signature, hold Ctrl and click X in order to cut it. Then select the text box and delete it before returning to the top of the page. Click just after the line Federal Chief Information Officer and hold Ctrl and click V to paste it. Now select the image you just placed and go back to the Format ribbon. Choose Wrap Text and then Behind Text again. Let's move these bad rockets around so we can get a better layout of the images next to the signers. When I moved Daniel's signature, the anchor got moved. I don't want the image to be red when it reads the heading 1 text, so I'll click the anchor and drag it back to the line for Daniel I. Gordon. I'll move the anchor for Vivek's signature next to his name too for consistency. Now right-click Vivek's signature and choose Format Picture. Choose the last tab, Alt Text, from the Format Picture dialog box. In the field, type Vivek Kundra's signature. Now click OK. And that wraps up our images. Now that our images are out of the way, we need to deal with these footnotes. Our original document simply added superscript numbers to the text and dumped the footnotes into text frames. There is no clear way to inform assistive technology that these footnotes are related to anything else on the page, so let's change that. So the first thing I'll do is click inside the text frame that has the first 2 notes. I'll select the first line and hold Ctrl and X to cut it. Now let's scroll to the top of the page and find our first footnote reference. Here's the first one, located in the first paragraph under our heading 2. Since the basic style I'm using has been applied to the whole paragraph, the footnote references are all showing like regular sized numbers butting up to the rest of the text. Just select it and delete it. An interesting fact is that the specification for PDF doesn't actually provide any details about where footnotes or endnotes should go in a page structure. The entire decision is left up to the author of the document. Since I've insinuated myself into the role of an author, I'll make an executive decision that all these footnotes should just go at the end of our document. This will make it much easier when we figure out what to do with them later. Go to the Reference ribbon, and in the Footnotes group, choose Insert EndNote. Word automatically presents us with a handy place to store the reference footnotes and starts us off with the number for the first one. From here, all I need to do is just paste the link I just cut into this area. I'll hold Ctrl and V to paste it. Because this was obviously really complicated, I'll do one more with you to make sure you got it. Scroll back to the text frame with the footnotes and select the next link. Then hold Ctrl and X to cut it. Scroll back up to the next place our EndNote is going to go. It's located in the first item of the unordered list under the heading 3, Increasing Awareness of Responsibilities and Requirements. In fact, it looks like the 3rd, 4th, and 5th footnotes are all conveniently inside the list as well. Again, just select the number 2 here, delete it, and return to the footnote ribbon. Click on Insert EndNote. Word doesn't want you to suffer from carpal tunnel syndrome, so it brings you right back to our list of endnotes, complete with an automatic second number. From here, we'll just hold Ctrl and V to paste it. I have confidence you can figure out what to do with those others in that list above, so I'm going to do the rest and come back for the 6th one because it's a little different. All the way at the bottom of the page is my last footnote. Unlike the other 5 footnotes, this one is just text. I'll select all the text, minus the makeshift number, and hold Ctrl and X to cut it. Now scroll back up to where the paragraph is with the big number 6 at the end of the word. Here it is, after the word access board. Just select it and delete it. Now go back up to the reference ribbon and choose Insert EndNote for the last time. Back in the EndNote area, simply hold Ctrl and V to paste it. The list of endnotes isn't formatted with any sort of style, so I'm going to finagle the hanging indent on this one using the ruler. To do this, just select the whole 6th endnote. On the ruler, simply drag the bottom tab stop over, aligning the vertical guide that appears with the text of the footnote above. Now drag the top tab stop back to the start of the ruler where the margin is. That looks good. Now that we're not using those text frames anymore, let's go ahead and click on them, and then press Delete, which will get rid of them in the document. I'm going to go ahead and get rid of these extra spaces next to these links. The end is in sight for our Word document, but there's a few things I've got to clean up before I move on to PDF. It's not necessary for accessibility, but it bothers me that there's a page break in the middle of only 2 list items. The ordered list under the heading 2, Improving Agency, Accountability, and Accessibility Performance, is continuing the numbering from the list above, so I gotta change that. There's also too much white space at the bottom of the page under the endnotes. I think I'd like to format the names under the word From a little better to clearly show a difference between the first and second headings. I'll select the line that has Daniel's title through the line that has Vivek's title. On the ruler, select a bottom tab stop and move it over until the vertical guide that appears aligns the text under Daniel's name. The signatures are overlapping the text too much, and it's hard to tell which one belongs to which person. I'll add some space under Daniel's title, which should help a bit. I don't want to mess around with the template at all, since doing so would affect all the text which is applied the same style. So I'm going to adjust the paragraph of only the line containing Daniel's title. Right-click Daniel's title and choose Paragraph from the context menu. Increase the spacing after to 18. Now click OK. Now I'll just move the signatures around until I get it looking good for government work. I'm still not feeling the spacing at the top of the page here, so I'll mess around with the spacing of the presidential text and the date to clean it up a bit. Right-click the date and choose Paragraph. Get rid of the spacing after, setting it to 0, then click OK. I think it would look better if the bottom of the date lined up with the presidential seal. Right-click the last line of text for the president where it says Washington, D.C. and the zip code. Again, choose Paragraph from the context menu and lower the spacing after from 24 to 18. Click OK. Let's add some white space below the presidential information before the heading 1 text. Right-click on the heading 1 and choose Paragraph from the menu. This time, in spacing before, change the number to 42 and click OK. The heading 1 seems to be missing the word "and" before Chief Information Officers. Now the split in the unordered list is worse than it was before. I'll fix that right now. Scroll down and place the cursor at the beginning of the heading 3, Improving Outreach and Communication. On the ribbon, choose Page Layout. In the page setup, choose Breaks. Choose the first option, Page. Now that the heading appears on the next page, I've got a new problem. While I managed to get rid of that extra white space in the footer, it's pushing the endnotes to a whole new page. This doesn't need to be longer than 2 pages, so I'm going to make my endnotes fit on 1 page. Select all the endnotes. Then click on the Home ribbon, and in the font group, change the text size to 9.5. With the endnotes still selected, right-click them and choose Paragraph. Give it a spacing before of 0 and a spacing after of 3, then click OK. I've got one annoying line left over in the document. To fix this, I'll get rid of the spacing after in the line that appears above the endnotes. Select a line of text and right-click it. Choose Paragraph and change the paragraph after to 0, then click OK. Now on to that ordered list that's continuing from the list above. Click on the list letter for the first list item. Right-click and from the context menu choose Restart at A. I've got a hyperlink in here that isn't set up like a correct hyperlink in the last item. I've got another link at the top for the Section 508 website I need to fix too. Word will automatically create a hyperlink that has a proper URL in it. We can tell these aren't proper links because it's not giving us the chance to activate it. Note that the hyperlinks in the footnotes gives us an option to Control-click to follow links when we are on that line. So to fix this, I'll go to the URL fedbizops.gov from the last list item. I'll copy it with Control and C. On the ribbon, select Insert and choose Hyperlinks from the Links group. The Insert Hyperlink window appears. Link 2 should be set to Existing File or Web Page. In the address field, type http:// and paste the text with Control and V. I'll add 3 W's in here as well. Click OK to exit that window. Now Word formats the link to look like one. We'll do the same with the Section 508 website above. Select the text, copy it, and choose Hyperlink from the Insert ribbon. In the address field, put in the URL and click OK. It looks like it placed the HTTP information in the text. I'll just delete that before moving on. Alright, we're totally in the home stretch now. The last thing we need to do before we export this is to modify the document properties. On the ribbon, choose File, and the Info window appears. I'll give this document a title. I'll use the content from the heading 1 for this. Click in the field and type Memorandum for Chief Acquisition Officers and Chief Information Officers. Next, click on the subject field. Actually, I don't feel like typing. Let's go back to the document and copy the heading 2 using Control and C, then click File again. Simply paste it right into the field for the subject. Finally, let's add some tags for the document. These are simply comma-separated labels to share some brief idea about what this document is. I suppose the tags would be accessibility, CIO, memo, OMB, and acquisition. At some point in watching this, you might have wondered why I had you create a template for this monstrosity, since the goal was simply to turn it into a PDF. Using a template saves time, money, and ultimately hair. Now that there's a template created for the document, you can simply attach it to other memorandums in the future. Once it's there, you can give it the structure that's needed by using the styles you just created in this template, involving maybe some minimal tweaking. As a bonus, if you send this document to someone else, you can guarantee that it'll look similar to how you intended it to look. That means that if any changes are applied later, it'll still be formatted appropriately. Now we're ready to convert this PDF. I'm going to use the Save shortcut here. Hold Ctrl and S to save it. If a dialog box appears asking if you'd like to save the template, choose Yes. Now move up to the ribbon and choose File. Choose Save as Adobe PDF. In the dialog box, make sure that the Save As type is PDF. Also, make sure that View Result is checked so we can see our handiwork when it's finished. Before hitting OK, choose the Options button directly next to the Save button. The PDF Options dialog box appears. You want to make sure that the following options are selected. Check Convert Document Information, which will take the properties we added a minute ago. Check Create Bookmarks. This is usually better for longer documents, but it can still be handy with documents with a lot of headings. Finally, check Enable Accessibility and Reflow with tagged Adobe PDF. This will convert all the styles and built-in Word features to PDF tags. Now click OK. Choose Save. The Acrobat PDF Maker begins to convert the document. Finally, the PDF opens in Acrobat and we're ready for the next step in making an ISO 14289 PDF, also known as PDF UA. Thanks for watching.